Hello YouTube, welcome back to my silly survival world. I think today is going to be a rather chill day here in real life. I do have a cup of tea down below me. You cannot see it because I've not had a camera in a long time, but I want to show you something here in the house. I have been seeing a lot of bees as of recently. There was one just up there earlier, but I suppose he's gone home because I figured out where that bee came from. This was a long time ago, back when we built this house. I put beehives here, and the bees have moved in. I now have a bunch of bees living in my house, and really, what more could I have expected? It's kind of the natural result of putting beehives in your house. Now, I was actually thinking, we might pick these up. I believe that these are all... Okay, well, they're not all full of bees, but they're close enough. I talked about yesterday, I wanted to get some beehives sat outside the apiary, and I think that is a good place to start off today. Oh, it does look like it's going to be nighttime. That is unfortunate. I was hoping that we would just have a rainy day here to start off the episode, but I will still go down there and get these 4 placed. Like so, we are going to come here, center these 4 on the building. Maybe I want them placed like this, rather, so that they are in a perfect grid, and I think I want them all to face the same direction. So we're going to face them all outward. And I think that is a huge improvement for an apiary. You'll find that most apiaries are placed outdoors, as, strangely enough, honeybees usually don't like being placed inside. Very strange. Now, I think I have one more thing I want to do with this. Actually, I have just had a wonderful idea that we can try out. Now, we are going to be heading down here just equipped with a bunch of trapdoors and a bunch of bone meal. For these right here, I think I will take from Ali Akbar here. I do so appreciate your generous donation of a bunch of sunflowers, because if we set a bunch of trapdoors along here, it'll be like having a bunch of planters here in front of the apiary. Now, if we put the sunflowers down, they all face outward, which is absolutely perfect. And, oh my god, that's adorable. That is so completely adorable. What an incredible improvement to the building here. We might want to open it up here on the windows, so it's like the sunflowers surround the windows wherever they pop up. We could even take and fill out the garden space just a little bit with a couple more dandelions in between. They are not in bloom currently, but eventually they will be. Right, so now they are a little bit more of an intentional feature, framing out these windows. I absolutely love that. I really, really do. And just maybe we could do a little something similar for the staircase whenever we figure out a more permanent solution for storage, which we certainly will need to, but that is not going to be our focus today. So first things first, I do want to check if we have warped wood lying around. We do not. If we have cyan terracotta lying around, we do not. If we have warped hyphae lying around, warped wart block, and we do, actually. That's a nice change of pace. We are going to need oak wood. We are going to need mossy cobblestone, which we had the means for outside, and we need honeycomb block, which I, of course, grabbed while we were down there. That about covers the materials that we'll need to gather today. I want to get a few more mushrooms in. You see that big warped mushroom right there? I have it surrounded in brown mushrooms right now, and I would like to get a comfortable mix of warped mushrooms out there to surround it as well. I swear, this moss farm is so crazy. Can I just say that? We built this so long ago, I ran it one time, and we are still working off of just the scraps left behind from our first time running it. I don't know if we'll ever use all of it. It is a lot. But I suppose I can't complain with a material being easy to gather. Cobblestone farm is, likewise, make some mossy cobblestone, and that covers us probably for the day. Alrighty, I decided that I would bulk up on materials a little bit more here since we can. Before we get into the materials for the main mushroom, this shulker box right here is just going to cover the spots. Now, I was going to travel over to the mushroom forest, and we still will, obviously, but I just realized if I take some warped nylium here, I believe that we can actually grow ourselves some hyphae. Is that what they're called? Right, here we have a couple of warped mushrooms. We grow this. If we harvest it, we get both the warp block as well as warped wood, which are both materials we need. Oh, right, I totally forgot about shroom lights. Oh, shroom lights are gonna stink unless we can gather enough of them off of this, which I don't imagine we do. Okay, after a couple of these, that is what I've gathered, but I would like to head over there and just see what we have left from the previous. Well, would you look at that? It's been a long time since we've seen Quinn join. Okay, we do have some warped quartz, cyan, warped planks. Unfortunately, that one little bit in that chest might have been our entire supply. Yeah, it looks like it. But I'll tell you what, we did bring one thing with us here, and that is honeycomb. Because these here yellow mushrooms were actually never meant to have oxidized, they were meant to have weathered. Oh, I just realized I'm pretty stupid. I got this guy off camera and I put him in a boat here to keep him, but yeah, he stops us from sleeping in that bed, and that's kind of an issue. How could you do that to us? Well, if we take... Okay, offhanding that might not be a good idea. Let's put these next to each other, though. Strip this once, twice, then hit it with the honeycomb. Right, so that will be our process for all the oxidized copper across all the yellow mushrooms here until we have all of these down to this nice color that I think does a really shockingly wonderful job blending us from the moss up into the birch. Well, it looks like we didn't actually need all that much of... Oh, hold on, I missed one. Well, it looks like we didn't actually need all that much to begin with. A couple of our mushrooms off in the back already had the correct block, but it is nice to finally have that gradient a little bit more up to where it was originally planned. Now, I guess it should be interesting getting some of these placed about. Let's go ahead and just use warped wart. Say we want a mushroom here, we want a mushroom out here. I do want some of these to get pretty distant, so why not have one here? Break these two up. Ooh, for sure we're going to want some mixed in here between our yellows and reds. I do want to keep them a little distanced from the blue, considering how similar their colors are. Okay, I've got a couple of these planned here. You should be able to see them all from up here. We might have to figure out how to angle some of these to where they can fit underneath these big mushroom caps, but I was kind of taking that risk whenever I made them that big to begin with. Now, I have just realized I have actually failed to gather any amount of stem. It would seem I have boldly and falsely assumed that we had had the materials to get this built here, but I guess I can at least show you the placement I had in mind here. We'll have to shape the terrain a little bit. With the rendering set to all though, you can see that these mushrooms are going to be very, very much the same as the brown mushrooms, just using these big spots like we have up here. In fact, ooh, maybe we should climb up there, actually, and get the honeycomb blocks in, since we couldn't actually do that before. We'll have to see. I do want to at least get a couple of these built today. I think my goal might be to get 3 of them up. We can just get a feel for these little mushrooms, how they fit in the spaces between, and probably be thinking about our last mushroom type as well. Before we get that far though, I think we are going to at least want to fill out this shulker box. Our other shulker box, I would say, is probably good, but that first one definitely needs a lot of work, so let's get to that. I think our first trip is actually going to be to the nether, not for the... Okay, well, actually, we definitely do want to gather the shroom lights over in the nether, But besides just gathering shroom lights, I would also like to get some more warp nylium so that we can produce the mushrooms quite a lot faster. Over here, in the silly quartz biome, we do have plenty of this, so I guess that fills out our needs. I think we will call one stack of that good for the time being. Now, I guess we head up there, although we did already gather quite a few shroom lights, so I don't know how many are going to be left in this area. Well, there are certainly still shroom lights to be found, that's for sure. You know, of all the crazy places that exist in the Nether, I wonder if there is one that is good for gathering shroom lights. This could just be great greed speaking, but man, would I love it if there was randomly a shroom light biome. Oh well, it looks like just around the corner here we have hit the mother lode, so I guess this will do. I mentioned this before, and I will mention it again. I kinda love picking the fruits off the trees like this. This is quite satisfying to do. Just pop, walk to the next, pop, pop, like grabbing apples off a tree. There is an army of hoglins. Silly, but I assume I can get by just ignoring them. I am certainly not a modern Minecraft sucks kind of YouTuber, but I must agree that it is oftentimes way too easy just to run away from mobs. I don't know, I kinda wish those guys were a threat to me. Okay, we have just hit 64 shroom lights, as you can see here in my 9th slot. I did do a little bit of work to take care of the whole hoglin problem we had going on. Now, with this, we can head home, perhaps in something of a hurry, because I fear I do not have much time left today. Okay, in the interest of getting any amount of these done today, I think we are going to have to cut back on the amount of materials we're trying to get. Let us boil down to the essentials. We still need pale oak wood, and we still need cyan concrete, so I think cyan concrete is going to be our next objective. Right, we can easily get ourselves 2 stacks of that. We will go and grab a stack of sand. Alright, we've got a stack of sand. And I believe... okay, we don't have cyan dye, but we easily have the means to create it. And we will combine this dye to make concrete powder, get all this converted. Cyan concrete is complete. And okay, sick, awesome. We have pale oak planks lying around. That means we can get right to it and get... I'm going to stick to 3 unless we run out of materials, but get a couple of these put in, take a look, and we can build more in the future. You know, it can be pretty easy to forget sometimes, but I do say, and I had said a long time ago, that my ultimate objective with this world is to add at least one little thing each and every day. And I guess that can be kind of easy to forget whenever, you know, we have days where we make this entire thing, or the whole apiary. I kind of like to fit these large projects into single episodes, but, you know, something like the Mushroom Village really is a practice in patience here, because, yeah, there's no way this could ever humanly be built in one day. But I well and truly do have this terrible tendency to try and make each episode somehow bigger than the last, or higher quality, or better. And it really just doesn't work out that way. It doesn't, right? I do think that's a lot of why these videos exist in the form that they do, because it forces me to actually make something rather than always trying to make sure that what I'm making is my best work and then ultimately never making anything, which is, or at least it was, my doomed fate with this channel, where I hadn't made videos in so long. I mean, there was about a year gap before I started this project. But I just think that it's funny that I still run into the same issue that arguably created this series in the first place. Still, after getting all the materials gathered together, this is nice. It's quick and easy to just plop together this little mushroom here. It does just barely clear the brown mushroom, which I do not consider to be a problem at all, because I would like this to be a densely packed forest. And I am honestly thinking that this section over here kind of blows that one out of the water by a long shot. This is a much better area thus far. And I do think we are going to take some of the lessons from this area and bring them over there. But let's go ahead and step down real quick. Oh my, I missed a strip. Okay, new mushroom is complete. Let's get the schematic turned off here. And okay, well, it's not incredible from this angle. Standing, why don't I like this mushroom as much? I don't know why, I just don't find this as striking as I do the brown ones, even though this should be the same design by all means. Let's give a crack at a number 2 here, and I'm thinking I want to stick it right here, so I actually want this to be one of the larger ones, coming up to maybe this height. I'm not sure why, but I had imagined these big blues just kind of slotting in, and I think I'm quickly realizing that that is not the case, because this is colliding a lot more with our smaller mushrooms than I really hoped or expected. Right, I'm going to have to figure out a little bit more how I want to actually mix those in. Let's just do another easy placement. Right out here, I had one planned on the outskirts. And I would argue that that right there is a much more natural fit for these mushrooms. Once more, we will take this into single layer mode, and one layer at a time, build up our second mushroom of the day. Alright. This mushroom here is now done as well. Whoops, I just completely messed up my hop part. Okay, well, let's take a step back here, remove these schematic lines here, and take one last look at our work today. It wasn't much, but I think we made some okay progress. That is a nice splash of color. I gotta say, we get more of these mixed in with the brown. I think that will do a lot to break up that muddy tone. I'm really quite interested for when we get to designing. I'm thinking of pink. I want a very vibrant pink mushroom, something that maybe fades from purple to pink. We don't have a very strong gradient mushroom. All of our mushrooms have gradients, but none that focus on the gradient first and foremost, kind of like the apiary roof out over, can we see it from here? Over there. Welcome back to the garden. We have 3 new additions today, so welcome Red Hexagon, Romulo Suarez, and Oscar S. If you'd like your name added in a future episode, leave a comment down below. I add everybody who's ever commented on any video in the series, but for the time being, I believe that I will be seeing you there tomorrow. Bye-bye!